The Ned Rig is one of the best fitness tactics to catch bass year-round, but especially to catch bass during the winter months. Today on this episode on Bass Fishing Declassified, you get to hear Matt, Kyle, and Randy share their ways that they modify the Ned Rig to put more bass during the winter months in the boat behind other anglers. Stay tuned for this video. You're not going to want to miss it.
At this point, we all know how good a Ned Rig is at generating bites, and at the same time it will trigger big bites too from all species of bass. And Ned Rig is truly one of those baits that I rely on during tournaments, guiding, and fun fishing because it's such a great bait. But I have to tell you, when I started throwing a Ned Rig, I did not find it to be an excellent bait. You know, I figured I'd throw an 1/8 ounce head on it, throw it out, catch fish like everyone was telling me that they were doing. But in hindsight, what I've come to find out, and I've talked to a lot of other anglers, is that if you choose the wrong weight for your head for your Ned Rig, you may be limiting the number of bites that you run into. What I mean by that specifically is if you go with a very light head, so this is a 1/16 ounce Berkley half head, what you'll do is you'll maximize the movement out of this bait. Your Ned Rigs are just a straight-tailed worm. There's no action that this is going to impart other than the falling motion. So if you go with a light head, a 1/16 ounce or lighter, you're going to maximize that movement as it falls through the water column. It may spiral around in a circle like a tube. It may fall side to side. Whatever it is, that's the action that will trigger fish to bite. It's a tantalizing fall that the fish can't resist. The other end of the scale is to go with a very heavy head, something that I would consider a 1/4 ounce or more. If you go with a 1/4 ounce or more on a small straight-tailed Ned worm like this, what you're going to do is just get a straight vertical fall, straight down. You get nothing more than that. So your key to triggering those fish to bite is to use a head that's going to increase the speed of your fall, meaning the faster it falls, the faster the fish have to react to it. Maybe not all the fish are going to bite it because they may not see it falling like they will a light bait. But the point here is that if you have lethargic fish that are not willing to bite, the faster the fall, the better at generating reaction strikes. So the mistake that I was making, and a lot of other anglers make, is they go with a weight that is right in the middle of that range. An 1/8 ounce, a 1/6 ounce. Not saying it doesn't generate strikes, but generally speaking, that kind of doesn't do either. It's heavy enough where you don't get the spiraling motion of a lighter head, but it's not heavy enough to increase the speed of the fall to the point where it's going to generate a lot of those reactions. So when you look at a lot of the top pros out there right now, they're throwing either a super light head or an extremely heavy head. Now, when it comes to the tackle that I'm using this on, it doesn't matter. Generally speaking, I'm going to have it on 8-pound test, 100% Berkley fluorocarbon, and I've got it on a 7.3 custom MHX rod that I've built, a spinning rod. So it's all about the weight head that's going to increase the number of bites that you have. If you want to increase it, go super light, go extremely heavy. Those are really the only two options for me at this point. And what it comes down to is I generally start with the lightest head possible. You know, that head size is going to be based on depth that I'm fishing as well as wind conditions, but I want to have a nice slow fall. If the fish can't resist that, I'll stick with that. If the fish are not biting it, I go the other end of the spectrum. I'll go a 1/4 ounce or heavier, all the way up to a 1/2 ounce sometimes, especially if I'm fishing in 20 feet of water or more. It's all about speed or tantalizing falls. So if you want to increase the number of bites that you're getting on your Ned Rigs, try doing that. Don't fall right in the middle. I think it's a mistake. If you go heavy or go light, you're going to see more bites.
Hey guys, Kyle Cortiana here. Listen, I'm going to talk to you just real briefly about an awesome, easy way to catch fish. I love throwing a Ned Rig, and you can catch them all year long, but in the winter you can really catch them good. I'm just going to show you a few things that I use, a few little baits I like, and particularly some jig heads. So let's just start right into it. This is a Jean LaRue pig head. It's a new jig head that they made, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I just love it. It's got a football-shaped head, which makes it a lot better for coming through rocks. It's got this really sharp sickle hook. See if you can see it. My dog's going to talk too. And it's got this really neat cone bait keeper on it. So my favorite bait to throw on that Jean LaRue pig head is this inchworm by Gene LaRue. This is a, this color's Minnesota Flash, Sooner Run. They have all the really cool colors in it, but it's got this real big head, and it's got this nice little tattletale at the bottom of it, rigged and ready to go. On top of this pig head has a wire guard to keep it more weedless. So I have caught some really big smallmouth on that. In fact, I'll show you a video of like a 5-pound smallmouth I caught in Kentucky in the winter months on this exact setup right here, that bait, that hook. I like to throw it on like a medium action spinning rod. This is a 7-foot Kistler Helium. I got a 2000 series Kistler spinning reel on there, and I almost always throw my Ned rigs on straight fluorocarbon, either 6 or 8 pound line. So you can see what's happening here. This is our culprit here. He's sad. Look at the camera. Tell him you're sad. Yeah, he's sad. Anyway, not fishing related. But so that's one of my favorite setups. Here's another cool little bait, guys. These are the Yum Ned Craws. Tell me that doesn't look good. Look at that. Rig that on just a little bit smaller style hook. And that little bitty craw bait right there catches a lot of fish. In the winter months, it's really important to fish really, really slow. We all know this, but this is a perfect bait to fish slow. You can change the rate of fall, and a lot of times that will get you some more bites going with that heavier head. I think those pig heads come in 1/8, 1/16, and 1/4 ounce. But if you want to be extra weedless, you know, they've got some extra wide gap hooks like this that you can really hide the hook and bury it in your bait. If you're going to fish brush piles with it, you can do that. This is the Yum Ned Dinger. And this is really cool because it's got this little hollow tail in the tip of it. And when you rear back and throw it, it actually kind of whistles. But the point of that is to make that really buoyant, so it helps that bait stand straight up on the bottom. But when you're working these baits in the winter, you're literally just working it like you would a football jig. You're just really slow hopping it on the bottom. You can even drag it on the bottom, almost kind of dredge the bottom with it and stop, and dredge it and stop. Or you can just take your rod, pick it up, let it fall, pick it up, let it fall. And if you're fishing rocks, a lot of the times that's what we're fishing with Ned rigs or hard bottom. You're just hopping over the rocks. And you've heard people say count the rocks, but just hop it over it, let it sit, hop it over it, let it sit. You'll either feel a thump and the fish will swim off with it, or sometimes when you go to pick it up, it's heavy. You kind of just want to hold still and wait until you can see that fish or feel that fish swimming off. One other little trick I'll show you guys that I do is these are rattles. So anytime I got a plastic bait, I like to implement rattles every now and then. It can just add that extra little something those fish are looking for. And one more tip that I want to make sure to show you guys I like to do on a Ned rig to get a few extra bites is adding a blade to your Ned rig. So this is going to add some length to your Ned rig. So if you're really shooting for an overall length, you might want to bite the Ned rig down to compensate for the length of this blade to the tail of one of these Ned rigs, this Ned Dinger. And literally that has an awesome free fall to it. It's going to slow the rate of fall because there's going to be a lot of drag to that blade, but it's going to look like one of those little bait fish swimming around. So try that a little bit in the winter, see if you get a few more bites. And I'm going to get back to taking care of this poor fella.
Really quick, if you're struggling to find productive areas on your lake or are new to fishing and want to get pointed in the right direction about where to start fishing, head to our website, fishthemoment.com, and go to our lake breakdowns page. Here you'll find lake breakdowns from myself, Randy Blaukat, and Matt Stefan. I focus on offshore breakdowns, Matt covers smallmouth, and Randy covers shallow water largemouth. These lake breakdowns provide 40 GPS waypoints that you can transfer straight to your fish finder. We give detailed area descriptions, the best conditions to fish each area, lure recommendations, and key strategies for the lake in general. We also give you a guide on how to transfer the waypoints straight to your fish finder, so you don't have to worry about the technology gap there. You can scroll through and find breakdowns for all 4 seasons of the year, and we have a lot of lakes here, so you probably will find most of the major lakes in this list already. However, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom and don't see your lake in one of the 4 seasons, you can also get a personal lake breakdown from either Randy or Matt at the bottom of the page, and you can pick any lake in the country and get 40 waypoints picked out personally by Matt or Randy. Check out our lake breakdowns at fishthemoment.com.
Today we're going to give you guys some tips and advice on how to fish a Ned rig in the wintertime. You know, Ned rigs have been around for, about a decade now. And to be honest with you guys, they started here a lot in the Ozarks where I'm from. An angler named Ned Katie showed the technique to a lot of Ozark anglers. And when I first saw it a long time ago, I said, man, that's got to be just a little fish bait. But the more people started fishing it, they realized that the thing catches really good fish, especially smallmouth and spotted bass. And there's been a lot of tournaments won on it, especially smallmouth tournaments. So it's a technique that catches a lot of fish, and it can catch some quality fish too. So I'm going to give you guys the little trick and secret that I use in the wintertime. I fish it a little bit different than most people. So I'm going to show you guys how to rig it up and how I set the thing up here. So first of all, here's what I do. This is a 5-inch zoom Slinky. Now a lot of people use just the straight Ned Rig worms for it. They're just already short and they're made up like this. But guys, I found out this is a really good trick here that works really good. If you take a full-size soft plastic stick bait, first thing I do is I come in and I rough it up on the tail of it, because a lot of these soft plastic stick baits have salt in them. And see, if you rough up the tail on it, it gives it a different color. It sort of like gives it more of a natural color, and also it softens the bait up. And I think it just gives it more of a natural look. So I rub that off. The next thing I do is I don't use the Ned Rig as long as what most people do. Most people use it about that length right there. I like to cut it down to what I call half a Ned Rig. And it's about 1.5 inches, guys. It's a real little subtle finesse thing like this, about that big. And then the next thing I do is you want to use a light head. I like, you know, around 1/16 of an ounce head. I think that a light head will get you a lot more bites in the wintertime in the cold water. So what I do is I just thread this little 1/16 of an ounce Ned Rig head on it. Pretty simple to do. You really want to make sure that you get the bait straight. When you put the bait on, you really have to work with it to make sure that it gets on straight. Sometimes you have to go in a couple times. Just take your time, because this thing being straight is really critical to getting bites on it. Like that. See, this is a little bitty tidbit. Look at it. It almost looks like a crappie lure, guys. But I'm telling you right now, I have caught a bunch of big spotted bass and smallmouth bass on it. I call it half a Ned. You can, you know, if you like it a little bit bigger, you can actually leave it on there. But this is the way I prefer it in the wintertime, especially if that water clarity is, say, over 3 feet or something like that. Most of the time I'm fishing it on 4 to 6 pound test Seaguard and Vizx 4 carbon line. So I go to 4 pound test a lot of times in the winter, because on this light head, the 4 pound test line makes the bait fall, you know, really good. The fish can't see it. It's truly a finesse technique. And most of the time I'm fishing it anywhere between 5 to 20 foot deep. I like to concentrate in and around main lake and secondary points on it, and I prefer the flatter points. So if you guys have lakes that have like gravel, clay type points, this is really good for the Ned Rig, guys. But anyway, try it out. Try what I call the half a Ned. Just get you a full-size stick bait, cut it down like that, make it a little tidbit, and I can promise you it will get you a lot of bites, and it'll surprise you occasionally with a good one. So hope it helps you guys catch a few. We'll talk later.
Thank you for watching today's video on Bass Fishing Declassified. Let us know what you think about the tips, which one you're going to go out and try first, or if there's any of these that you've already done to catch more fish. If you have not, please subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and like I said, just stay tuned for our videos, as we're going to have content on Monday and Fridays, and then our Wednesday video is the bonus. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.